Hello, hello. Welcome to the Unapologetically Badass podcast. I'm Renee with our lovely Sierra. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
And we're super excited to have somebody from across the pond, Polly, which I met online. Yes, stranger danger, but her story, wait till you even hear it, from benefits in the UK to boss and how she built her multi-six-figure empire. It's really astounding. I'm thrilled to share you with our audience. Welcome, Polly. Hello.
Thank you so much for having me.
So excited that you're here. So you have a very unique and strong story. But so tell everyone, where are you living?
I live in Brighton in the south of the UK. Yeah, that's where I'm living, in a house with my family. I've got my husband and my 2 kids and my cat. More detail than you probably needed, but there you go.
No, that's fantastic. How old are your children?
They are 8 and 10 now.
Time flies, right?
It really, really does. Yeah. I now find myself like looking at pictures of them when they're really little, and I've already forgotten how hard it was. So that's nice.
It's literally like you go to sleep and you wake up and then they're just grown, is how it
Yeah.
feels.
It really does. I mean, yeah, we could talk about that for hours because mine are 25 and 21. And I'm like, where the hell did time go? Am I that old? And then my leg pain or my hip pain, I'm like, yeah, yep, okay, I am that old. That's my daily reminder. But enough about that. Okay, so you have an incredible story to share. Why don't we just really dive in? Like, take us back to the moment that you realized you wanted to build something for yourself?
Well, lovely question. I essentially am what I refer to as the accidental entrepreneur. And I think a lot of women potentially end up in this position, not necessarily as dire as mine in terms of being a single mom, being broke. Okay. But I do think a lot of women have kids and reconsider what it is that they want to be doing with their lives. For me, I kind of felt like I was put in like the fast lane of having to make decisions and make things happen, because one minute I was living in Gibraltar with my ex-husband with significant financial comfort, and what some people refer to as like a gilded cage. Like, I had all the lovely things, but inside, and this was no fault of his, but I felt trapped. I just wasn't happy there. In Gibraltar as a whole, not just the marriage, but the whole thing was a bit feeling claustrophobic towards the end, which I think anyone who's left a long-term relationship can understand what I mean by that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it all started essentially the moment I landed in England. My money quickly ran out. I had to sign on to benefits. I looked for marketing roles, but none of them paid me well enough for it to feel worthwhile. And I also really didn't want to compromise time with my kids because they were only 1.5 and 3.5 when all of this happened. I didn't want to lose out on what I knew would be some of the most magical years of their life.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started.
Wow. So what was that turning point? So you were single mom. You're like, I'm on government assistance benefits in the UK. Right? So how did that go from there to, I'm going to start by accident?
Where did the accident happen? That's I'm so engaged right now. I'm like, okay, is that the accident? Oh, is that the accident?
Okay, well, the accident is that in not being able to find the job, I was like, I think my dad actually came up to me and handed me this book about being a freelance mom. And he said, I think you should look into this, Paul, because you are really good at what you do, but you're going to struggle to find a job that's going to pay you well. And so I kind of went into the world of kind of looking for freelance work, essentially. To begin with, it was rather unglamorous. I was just like, I have digital marketing skills. Let's see who needs them. So I went and actually supported a startup for about 1.5 years. And then other startups that I'd been supporting kind of casually in Gibraltar also kind of wanted me to continue supporting them. And as they grew, they wanted me to be on that journey with them. And that was all kind of okay. But 2 years in, I was still needing benefits to prop me up. I still wasn't making what I like to refer to as proper money. And I really didn't want it to be, and this could maybe sound snobby, and I don't mean it to come across the wrong way, but I didn't want to be the person that needed benefits. I didn't want that to be my story. And I certainly
like at all. That's being that I want to stand on my own 2 feet and do this and be able to say that I did it.
Yeah, and I guess also there are some people in this world who genuinely have challenges, which mean they can't and they do need state assistance. But in my case,
Absolutely.
I knew I had something to give this world. You know, I have a brain and I wanted to use it. And I wanted to prove to myself and to my kids and to the world that, you know, it wasn't game over yet. Like this was just the beginning. So there was this
Yeah.
kind of stubborn streak where I really wanted the best for my kids. I'd also taken them away from financial security. So the last thing I wanted was for them to one day look back and say, Mom, what did you do? Why
Yeah.
did you choose you? And then make us lose all of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so essentially after kind of working as a freelancer for 2 years and not getting anywhere fast, like I kept on getting odd opportunities. Like there was this huge investor in the UK who latched onto me and kind of said, go into all of my different kind of businesses and I want you to go in and train them up in digital marketing. And in that moment, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm at the beginning of this journey. I've almost made it. This huge deal of a human being who's like, must be a billionaire is noticing me. He's like the equivalent of like a Dragon's Den-esque type human being in the UK. And funnily enough, it was actually a business coach in the online business space who said to me, are you still being paid peanuts by that guy who you were waiting for it to become like a big deal with? And I was like, ah. And I think we'd spoken 6 months prior and 6 months later. And it was in speaking to her that I was like, you know what? It's time. I knew I had to back myself. So I invested in her. I invested in learning about how to launch a group program. And that's when it all took off. Essentially, when I started learning how to package my expertise and sell that rather than be the one delivering it all the time, that's when everything changed.
Oh,
I love that
love.
you made that decision. I'm sure that that was scary because if you don't have the money, right? What was that mindset? Because a lot of women, that's where they're stuck. They want to
Yeah, they
go
say I can't
forward,
because I don't
right?
have.
I can't, I don't have the money, but I know I really want to. How did you change that mindset to go, you know what? No, I'm going to do this and dive in?
I think it was probably a matter of like things were so bad, like they couldn't have gotten much worse. Like I was working in the day when the kids were in nursery, and like my youngest, I think, had just started school. And I was like looking after them when they got home, doing all the laundry, all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the things a single mom would do, putting them to bed, and then working till 11 o'clock, sometimes midnight at night. And I was exhausted.
Mhm.
I was exhausted, and I knew nothing would change unless something changed. And it was scary because contextually, like this all happened in 2020, like as in me backing myself. Beginning of 2020, I was like, sod it. I'm going to put my savings into this and this just has to work.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I look back and think you're mad. And if anyone ever came to me and said, I want to do that with you, Polly, can I put the rest of my savings into working with you? I would probably have a heart attack because I mean, I don't know how or why I did that, but I did it. I mean, I say I don't know how. I do because, like I say, things were that bad.
Yeah.
And then blooming COVID hit. And not only did
Right.
it hit, but I got really poorly. I was bedbound for about 6 weeks. I was one of the first
Oh,
cases in Brighton to come down with it. And I then
oh,
had long COVID on the other side, all at the same time that I just spent the last of my savings. But I literally am such a kind of silver lining type of human being that I was like, right, okay, so I'm stuck in bed. I'm going to learn everything that's inside. Like, I'm going to attend all the calls. I'm going to like go through all the curriculum. I'm going to go through all the learnings. And there's a lot of stuff where I was like, I already know this. Why am I not doing this? Why am I not kind of sharing more of this? So
love it.
yeah, but it was one of those things that I guess ultimately when you back yourself like that and you go all in like that, there's nowhere but up really. Like you have to keep on going. Like if you hit rock bottom,
Yeah.
the only way is up. And I think that's kind of how I felt about life. I was like, things can't get much worse, but they can get better. So let's focus on them getting better.
I love that
Oh,
you took that opportunity.
right.
We always talk about seeing the signs, right? And whether
Yeah.
you're spiritual and you believe in God or whatever, but there are signs. And you being, sick, I mean, it's not like a blessing, but you took that going, I have a couple of weeks where I'm homebound. I'm not going anywhere. I'm stuck in bed. I'm going to use this as that opportunity to learn more and invest in myself. I think that was brilliant. And a lot of women, unfortunately, don't take that chance on themselves. I can't say a risk, but it is a chance
Mm.
on
No, I
themselves.
think there is a risk in there as
You
well. I
know?
mean, I think anything that we do that is new is something we've never done before. And so
Yeah.
it's the equivalent of like irrational because rational is what we
Yeah.
know and irrational is what we don't know,
True.
right? So,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
second you don't know what it is,
True.
it's a risk. But I
Yeah.
think, like you say, there's that mindset of like, and I'm determined. Like I'm
Right.
willing to fail, and I'm willing to figure it out again and again and again.
You have
Uh,
nothing to lose. You have nothing
yeah.
to lose. So I'll just walk in the dark for a little while, and I know that there's light somewhere or that it will come. And those 12 hours of looking for the, could be months, weeks, years, but you just say, I'm just going to do it. And that's the risk, is that you're going to fall. You're probably going to hit something, bruise something, right? Because you're literally walking into the unknown. I love it.
Yeah, it's honestly one of those things I often say now, like, I look at people who are so risk averse and so unwilling to back themselves and go after what they want, and I kind of realized, I was like, I'm weirdly grateful for my rock bottom, which is probably the only way to refer to it,
Yeah.
because when you've been that close to everything you're afraid of, you realize it doesn't kill you. It doesn't
Yeah.
knock you over. And actually, despite all the challenges I had, we lived in this tiny flat. I was exhausted. I mean, that's probably why I got so ill when, the pandemic came around, because my body had nothing left in it. Like I just just
Yeah.
keeled over. Um, but despite all of that, there was still so many moments of joy. We still hugged, we still kissed, we still loved, we still, that there was so much happiness even in that time, even though it was hard. So I kind of feel like I'm less afraid now of losing things, because I've lost before and I've also gained so much more. And I realize I've missed out an important part of the story here, that, of course, I didn't just launch a program. I launched a program, had my first 10K month within, I think it was February that I launched my business, in April when I launched my program. And by July, I'd moved us into a house. By the
Right.
end of my first year, I was just shy of six figures. By the following year, I was just over six figures. And by my third year in business, I was multi six figures. And
Right.
it's continued to kind of grow since then. So, yeah, but it all started with that one moment, that kind of leap of faith.
I
Yeah.
love that. How did so you
Look how all your
explained
pieces, like, I'm sorry, Renee, go ahead.
well, because when we talked, she talked about scaling the cushy way. What
Yes.
is right? So what does that look like really in practice? What do you mean by that?
So I'm obsessed with what I like to call cushy business, because one thing I haven't mentioned is that when my kids were very little, I didn't know this yet, but as they've gotten older, they've both been diagnosed autistic, and one of them is probably about to be diagnosed ADHD as well. So parenting is quite intense at home. And I've since married got married basically. But despite that, it's still challenging to run my own business and be a parent to these kind of one of whom in particular is a real whirlwind. This is connected to cushy business, by the way. Essentially, the combination of what happened to me during COVID and getting long COVID and some slight chronic health issues I've had since, combined with being a parent to two children who are quite full on, means that when I started growing my business, I really quickly recognized I'm not cut out for live launching. Live launching kills me. Like, it's so exhausting. I would physically end up having to lie on my bed for about a day or two after live launching. And
Mm.
while it's gotten a little bit better, it's still not great. So I'll do like the odd occasional marketing push. But because of that particular situation, I started asking other of my entrepreneurial friends, and I was like, how are you coping? Because you seem to be bossing it. And they're like, Polly, I think I'm borderline burnt out.
Hmm.
And I started hearing it everywhere. I'm feeling burnt out. I'm really close to being burnt out. It's okay. I just need to hit my 30K launch, my 50K launch, my 100K launch, and then I will stop. And then I will slow down. And then it will get easier. And people were hiring big teams thinking, oh, it'll be easier because I've now got 7 people on my team. They're doing social media. They're doing ads. They're doing whatever, thinking it'd be easier. And it wasn't getting easier
It's
for any of them.
harder,
Yeah,
right? It
it's
gets
getting
harder.
harder. It's
The more
getting
you take
harder.
on, the harder it gets, right?
Exactly. And I myself fell slightly victim of that. When I first started having my consistent 30K months, I also had a team of about 7 people. And I hated it. Very quickly, I started to hate it because I really missed just being like being in the business. And I just felt like I was constantly managing them to ensure that they were all doing what they needed to do.
Mhm.
And while some people I mentor do really well that way, for me, it's just not my zone of genius. It's not something I enjoy. So I was like, well, what's the alternative of that? Because I looked at one of my most established, I had a long-term client for about 5 years, and she had an evergreen funnel. And I looked at her life, and I looked at her business, and I looked at her general attitude to life. And I was like, this chick this woman has got her priorities right. And it
Yeah.
seemed to me that nobody knew this secret sauce that she knew, because I helped to make £1 million as an ads manager, like in 2020, launching this evergreen funnel. And we did it within 6 months. And I was like, evergreen can make serious sums of money,
Mhm.
but so many people are pursuing live launching instead. So anyway, so that essentially, I started pursuing evergreen marketing. I started teaching people about evergreen marketing. And at one point I was like, everyone kept on saying to me, what's evergreen? What's evergreen? I was like, I need to find a way to describe what evergreen is. And that's where Cushy originated. I mean, Cushy's become its own force of its own, because it's more than evergreen.
Yeah.
It's that kind of slight rebellious nod towards like, yeah, I've got a cushy business. Yeah,
Right.
it's too good to be true. Yeah, I'm, going out for a massage this morning and getting paid while I'm lying there. Like, it's kind of embracing that. And because I know some people, I can actually see them almost looking a bit uncomfortable. Like, do I get to have a cushy business? And I particularly love it for women. I'm like, women deserve it more than anyone. Like, so many of us have uncushy lives in many other ways with the mental load we carry, with,
Yeah.
whether we're caring for elderly parents or whether we're caring for small children or anything in between. Women often have to carry more than men. So if we can design our businesses to be as spacious and profitable and lean as possible, so
Yeah.
that you have as little pressure on you as possible, that's my dream and what I support my clients to create. And fortunately, there are a lot of people who think like me. So I've had no issues attracting people who are like, yes, please, where do I sign up?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for support somehow, some way. And you took the time to educate yourself and think about how many other million people out there are looking to educate themselves. And that's what it is. It's educating yourself to be better. Rather, it's just
Mhm.
taking one little piece of anything that is given to us and making that work, right? I
I
mean, that's
totally
life.
agree. Yeah. I think ultimately, when you're growing a business, you just have to love what you're doing. Like, I've been supporting people with Evergreen since 2021 now, like more full time since 2022. But this is something I've been growing and refining upon and kind of really throwing myself into being the master of it, inverted brackets. Um, that's not a chore for me. The amount of people who say to me, "Oh, I couldn't do that with one thing." I'm like, "'Cause you probably haven't found the thing you love enough yet." But, like, when you
Yeah.
love it and you're not just doing it because you wanna have, like, big financial months, but you do it because you really care, then
Yeah.
all the other stuff just seems to kind of accompany it, even if you're not trying. That's what I found
Can you
anyway.
give us like give us sparks or reasons of why you love it? What takes place where you just are like, this is why I love it?
Oh, goodness. There's probably like three main reasons. Like, one of them is when you decide you're going to have an evergreen business model, it's all centered around one core offer. And that means you really get to stand out like a brand authority because it's the one thing you talk about all the time. So, what I love to see now is I'm regularly getting tagged in groups when someone goes, does anyone know who helps with everyday sales? Who helps with evergreen? People like Polly. And that is not something that happens overnight. That's something
Yeah,
that
that's
happens because you've got
great.
the staying power. And I love to see
Mhm.
that happening. I've got clients who are being interviewed by like big editorials again, because they've got so much SEO going on around the same area that they're easy to find. And again, other people are saying, oh, that's who you need to go to learn about X.
Yeah.
So it's amazing for brand authority. And brand authority is like one of the most important bits of business insurance you could have, like in terms of like wherever digital marketing goes, if people trust, like, and respect you, it doesn't matter if you're moving from TikTok or to email or whatever it is, like people will follow you because you're an
It's you.
established authority. Yeah. So that's one reason why I love it. I love to see women stepping into their power. I love to see women claiming what they're here to do. And I love women really getting that sense of clarity around, oh my goodness, yes, this is who I love to work with. And most of the time that also looks like them charging more, and earning more money. I love to see women, like at Christmas time, my clients were saying to me, I'm taking my kids for a surprise trip to Lapland. And I was like,
Mm.
like it's moments like that where I'm just like, this is what I do it for. Like I want to see, and another woman also like took her husband for a surprise 50th getaway. And I mean, I love travel. So of course, anytime anyone
Yeah.
celebrates anything like that, when people say I'm doing a kitchen extension, I'm like,
You're like,
but
good job.
I mean, I'm happy for them. But the most important, they have choices. They get to make choices. So
Yeah.
one is brand authority. Two is kind of essentially charging more and making more money. More money equals more choices. I've even had, women saying to me, I want to make enough money to be financially independent so I can leave my rather toxic relationship, like all the way down
Mm,
to serious things like that. I mean, I wouldn't encourage people to come to me for that reason, please.
right.
But at the same time, when they share with me that they've been able to do that,
Mhm.
like, money is power in many ways. It
It
gives us choices,
Yep.
and whatever those choices may be. And I want women to be able to be free to make choices, because there's nothing more humbling and kind of slightly horrible than being a single mom on benefits, just feeling like, the stigma around that, the way I felt people probably potentially look down on me, the kind of associations even now that I have thrown at me where people are like, oh, you used to be a single mom, so you're obviously an alcoholic. And I'm like, no, thank you very
Where
much.
did that even like
Wow.
I honestly had someone
why?
trying to
How
get me
do
into the
they even
mastermind.
like relate
Um,
those? They're like, "Oh, you're not married, so you must be an alcoholic, right?" Oh
exactly. It's
no,
horrible the way
that
people's
is
brains work.
It
horrible.
is,
Oh,
it is. But I resonated so much with all of that in your profile and when we spoke, because that's my passion. I also became a single mom after
Mhm.
divorce, and my whole thing about helping women build their $100,000 fuck it fund. I never
I
want
love that,
women
yeah.
to feel like they're stuck, whether it's a shitty husband, a shitty job, or whatever. That money, like you said, is power. It helps you. It just gives you options in life. I was just having a discussion the other day about money, and talking to a client. Money doesn't make you happy.
No.
not at all.
Money is not the end all be all. Money just gives you options in life.
Mm.
And when you change that mindset and focus about money, it really does navigate you into the path that you're supposed to be on. So I love that you're helping other women really understand that, and help them stand on their own 2 feet, whatever that looks like. And I love that I also love the travel. And you spent like a month away, right? Weren't you able to take your family, your husband, your kids, and just go away to
Go.
some like crazy awesome house villa? Tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, funny enough, I know earlier on I said 2 reasons. This is the third reason, time. Time is so important, right? Like you say, time really has
Yeah.
more value than money, but we can't do very much with our time if we don't have money either. So if we can ideally have a bit of both, then we have
Mhm.
the best of both worlds. And yeah,
Yep.
the first summer when it was all kind of coming together, I got to take my kids to Spain for a couple of weeks in this gorgeous villa. And then me and my husband, who actually at the time was my fiance, we traveled around Greece for 4 weeks, which was really nice as well, because that's during the time that my kids go and stay with their dad. They
Mhm.
tend to go away on school
Oh,
holidays. So that traditionally had been a really sad time for me, where I'd kind
yeah.
of be like, what am I going to do with myself? So being away during that time and actually kind of having my eat, pray, love moment, just kind of,
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of getting out and being me and learning who I am again, outside of being a mum, was really beautiful. And so yeah, having moments like that. When I got in the pool with the kids, I have this photo that was taken of us together, and my eyes are shut, and I don't care like that it's an imperfect photo, because I just remember that feeling of holding them both and just being like, we're here, we've
Yeah.
done it.
yeah.
I was emotional, but
Yeah.
it was getting all turned up, but yeah, it was really meaningful, and I still have moments like that now, because it's really hard to feel entirely safe when these things happen to you. And
Absolutely.
that's the work. That's the work on the other side when things start going well, is really rooting into the sense of safety that you are safe now. But moments
Yeah.
like that, I felt really like, well, things must be going okay because we're here and we've done this.
Mhm.
And yeah, last year I got to go away after my wedding with my husband. We went to Sri Lanka for 3 weeks, and that was really special too. So yeah, we love travel.
Yeah, that's
So do
wonderful.
we. We always talk about travel on our
Yeah.
podcast, so I'm sure you've seen that. We're just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, where are we off to next?"
Yeah.
I love something that you said in the beginning, and now I've like, I have this squirrel thing where, I'm old and I'll think and I'll focus on something and then it just jumps out of my head out of nowhere. Um, but you were talking about the power of women and being able to hear them say things like, I've done this, I've done that. And that picture that you just spoke about was you, that moment of you did it. And
Mm.
that's where the love is. And so I just I want to commend you for, the passion that you have to help women because I think that's so big. And then whenever that other question pops in my head, I'm gonna just like stop
Mhm.
everybody and ask you because I'm like, where did it go? Come back. But I was something that you were saying in the beginning, and it just, like I said, it just jumped out of my head. But I love the fact that you just want to help women, and you're like, whenever they come to me and they say that I've done this, done that, and whether it's a kitchen remodel or traveling, you're just like, yes, this is what's going to drive me to keep going.
Yeah.
I think it was something to do with time. It's going to come to me. Renee, I can see that
That's
you have a
okay.
thought. So
That's okay. No, I get it. I get it. So I want to go back to like you helping women building these businesses. When somebody is a newer entrepreneur and wanted to get in that space, a lot of times they're scared because of the paid ads versus organic growth and
Yeah.
finding that balance. What is your advice to entrepreneurs as they're trying to scale and grow?
that's a good
Well,
question.
in terms of getting started with things like paid ads or organic, my advice is always to validate your offer before you try and put any spend behind it. I mean, I guess the other thing is it boils down to like, what do you have more of, time or money? Like, if you have validated expertise that people have paid for previously, you're up to your eyeballs in some kind of service job, and therefore the only way to learn is to run ads, then sure, you can throw yourself into ads. But the majority of people starting out have more time and less money. And in that predicament, I'm like, have as many conversations as you can. Reach out to people who are a good fit for what you're doing. And, even have a Google Doc listing out what your offer is. Obviously, use ChatGPT or something like that to help you like frame it so it's positioned in a way that people read it and they understand if it's for them, what it helps, how it helps, the time frame, the investment, all that kind of stuff. Have conversations. It's one of those things I see so many people shy away from. They would rather spend thousands of pounds or many hours building out a funnel, and then hide away in the hope that they don't have to kind of experience any rejection up close. But in those early stages, those conversations are invaluable because your ads will perform better because you've had the conversations with people and you've learned the words that
Yep.
they use around their challenges, and you've learned what it is that they're actually seeking. So like for me, for example, I used to talk about, get evergreen in your business. You want to have evergreen marketing. And
You're
people are
like,
like,
what's
huh?
that?
What's evergreen? And then I started saying everyday sales because that's what evergreen funnels allow you to have. They allow you to wake up to sales, get on a plane, bing, see a sale, all of that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to call it everyday sales. And then suddenly everyone's like, I want that.
Right.
So
Right.
these tiny little pieces are the things that enable you to understand what it is that people are looking for. And then later on, when you're running ads, ads are essentially what I refer to as like throwing gasoline on something. So, like, if you've got a message that's already fire organically, throw some gasoline on and it's just going to go and do amazingly. But if you have something that's not doing well organically, chances are, if you run ads to it, it's not going to do any better.
And
Yeah,
that's
because
how the
whenever
bridge.
you
Oh, sorry.
do no, go whenever you're new and you're starting out and you do just dive straight into ads, something else just to be cautious about too is all the spam that you are going to get. And
Yeah.
everybody trying to redo your website or
Yeah.
offer you things, and they act like they're interested, and you spend all this time replying, trying to build a relationship to only find out it is a bot or a scammer. And
Mhm.
so, those genuine conversations ahead of time and building up that funnel with real genuine people at first, then incorporating the ads because they will share those ads with people when it's real people, and then you get less and less of those spammy conversations in your message. It's just
Yeah.
in the beginning you're so excited, you're like, oh, that's me, what do they want? Yeah. Oh wait, oh okay.
So
But
true.
that's where people miss. They think that they're going to go right from 0 to evergreen, like 0, like that they don't have to touch it. They'll have the funnel and people will just come to them. They're
That's it.
missing the steps that it takes to get and build the audience in order to have that residual income. And it is conversations, but they're scared of that. They're
Yeah.
scared of that, reach out. How do you help them overcome that?
Mindset work, really, because I mean, one of my biggest, and also just dispelling a lot of the really unhelpful myths that a lot of the online business space promote, like this whole idea that overnight you can be a success. Like, I'm not going to lie, 2020, it was a lot easier, a lot easier. You could just show up online at some moment, share your imperfect photo of your latte in a coffee shop and say, hey, I'm enrolling one-to-ones. And you would have a few people raise their hand. But 2025, the landscape looks remarkably different. I think we're in a bit of a
Absolutely.
trust recession. People
Mhm.
aren't buying as quickly, that the buying cycle is generally speaking longer. And similarly, because people have made investments that haven't done well, people are slower to invest, or they're more cautious when they invest, is probably the right way of putting it. So that's where the brand authority piece, for example, really matters. And that's where, if you have been playing this game for a few years and you've got lots of testimonials under your belt, you're inevitably going to have something over everyone else right now. Because if you're new and you don't have those pieces, it's going to be harder. And the biggest mistake you can make in the online business space is to come in and be like, well, I'm as talented and as knowledgeable as that person over there, so I should just do what they're doing. Because
Ugh,
chances are, if you don't have their backstory, like chances are that person who makes it look easy maybe has already been online for 5 years, maybe has already been
yeah,
developing a community and has, all sorts of things working for them. And also they've tried and tested. They've, again, failed quickly. They failed time and time again, and they've learned what works. And I actually heard something, I wish I could credit who said it, but I was listening to a podcast where someone said, you don't learn by like consuming information, you learn by doing. And I think that's so true in the online business space. But I also think a lot of people try to avoid that. They try to sign up to programs or coaches and hope that that person will kind of buffer their failure. And I think one of the earliest things
mm,
you need to do is remove that sense that you have a buffer and
mm,
just be willing, be willing to learn that, if someone says no to your offer, that's not no to you. That doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that it's not necessarily the right time for that person. They may even come back to you later on. And
Yeah.
no is
yeah.
just a not now most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, that's
true.
fantastic. That's
And I think
fantastic.
engagement is just like a lot of people knew in the beginning, it's having those conversations because you don't want to ever come across spammy. And then when people do comment and engaging back, because that's really how you grow the community. And I think so many people miss that step, Polly,
Yes.
is that
No,
if
it's
you
true.
want a powerful, it's like being in a party. Like you go to a party back in the old days, okay? Days you would show up to a party and then you might have these little sidebar conversations of what do you do? How do you do that? Oh, you have that many children. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what school do they go to? So now you're following them, you're engaging. Oh my gosh, your outfit is so cute. Or oh my goodness, you're just so beautiful when you do this. And then they're engaging and you learn a little bit more about them little by little by little. Now you know how many kids they have, but it may have taken a little bit longer because it's online. And that is such an art that I just wish there was like a whole class on just how to engage,
Yeah.
because it's so missed. It's so missed. It's a whole new world. And if you can master that, you could be the master of literally anything. I really, really, truly believe that with all my heart.
I totally agree. I think everything, yeah. I think the other thing that came to mind listening to you is I just always lead with being of service.
Mhm.
Like, I am
Mm.
disattached to whether somebody buys from me or not. It's a numbers
Yes,
game for me. I know if I have enough
yes,
conversations, someone will hear it at the right time, but I am not overly attached to the outcome because I know that just the activity of touching base with that person. And like you say, sometimes touching base is as simple as saying, "Oh my God, that macaroni cheese looks delicious."
exactly.
And other times it's more along the lines of, I'm actually working on this new workshop. I think it'd be really relevant to you based on the conversation we had recently or whatever. You know, it can be different types of invitations, but in my
Yeah,
mind, as long as I'm having 4 or 5 conversations a day where I'm making some kind of invitation or just checking in with them to see how they're doing, that accumulates into sales in the end. But I'm not attached to the timeline and I'm not attached to the outcome. And I think that really helps. And when we lead from a place of just wanting to help, like that's how I often feel. If someone's feeling stuck, I want them to get unstuck. And often that looks
yeah,
like saying, do you want to listen to one of my recent podcast episodes where I talk about this? Like I'm not steering them necessarily directly to an offer, but
Yeah.
I'm steering them towards something that can help.
yes, yes. Always be a servant. I love that, Polly. That was
Yeah.
beautifully.
Now, if you could go back, I love asking these questions, but if you can go back and give your past self one piece of advice, like for you starting off your journey, what would that be?
You're gonna fail regardless, so just blimmin' do it. Stop fixating on what's the right decision and just make a decision.
Yes.
That's what
I
I
love
would tell
that.
myself.
Yep, hallelujah.
And I still need to tell myself that, okay?
Well,
For
it
full
is a daily
You
transparency.
do,
reminder.
because you get, even with success, there's that feeling of, I need more success. I need more security. I need more funnels, because like you said, you don't want to lose what you've worked so hard for. And if you take your foot off that pedal, you start to get those like insecure feelings of, oh, what if I'm not doing? And then that's when that burnout happens. So it's,
Mm.
it's always, it's never done, but you're always looking for ways to better yourself, always, because that's how you grow and that's how you continue to grow. And so you can't ever stop, just like, I can't do that, you
Yeah,
know?
no, exactly, 100%.
Yeah, but you have that work-life balance, so you're able to,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's really true though that you can have the time, and it's been a whole other journey, ensuring that my mind is also on board. Like in the early stages, I almost felt guilty for taking time out and doing nice things. So I think that's one of the pleasant things about working with the clients I work with, is that I'm not like a million miles ahead. I haven't got this stuff like nailed down. Like I always think we teach the thing we need to learn the most. But I
Yeah,
have
true.
made significant progress. Like now I can I now fall asleep when I'm getting a massage. Well, before I'd be lying there going, is she being paid well enough? Does she really mind this? Or does she, what is she thinking right now? I don't know, just thinking all the, like really overthinking.
Yeah.
And overthinking is one of those things that I still do in other ways, but that's my biggest challenge. Like, and I do think you're totally right that as entrepreneurs, we're just always looking to improve ourselves, because when you're the CEO of your business, the better you are, the better you feel, the better your business will do. So I'm always kind of looking at how I can support my physical health and mental health alongside the cushy business model. But yeah, it's ongoing work as always.
I love the cushy business model. I love
Yeah, for sure. So what's next?
that.
Do you have any big things planned? Like what's next for you, your brand?
To be honest with you, I've been leaning back a lot. I'm leaning more into my systems. I've somehow just landed in this really sweet spot of attracting the dreamiest clients into my group containers, which I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying. And I'm really fixated on kind of updating various modules and elements around AI at the moment in my program. It's really geeky, but AI is obviously taken the world by storm. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to ensure that I keep up with all of that. And next year, I think I'll be thinking about writing the cushy business book finally, but it's not something I'm prioritizing this year. But yeah, and next year I'm probably also going to look into getting on stages. So this year I'm just kind of
Yay.
trying to muster up the confidence to actually do it.
You
I'm
know
not
what? I'm
joking.
so excited. You just threw it out there. So you've just manifested this. You put it out there. You're like, this is what I'm doing. So 2026, we've got your book coming out and you've got speaking engagements happening. I
It's
love that.
happening.
Yep, it's happening.
Polly, you said just a second ago, you said I kind of sort of like fell into it. I just want to tell you that you didn't just fall into great clients, because it is all just like how you said earlier. You said that people are referring people because they know that I am an expert in this. And so I just want you to give yourself a little bit more credit, because those clients are there for you because of all the hard work you've been doing since 2020.
Well,
And I
thank
mean,
you.
and it's showing. And so now you get to take that step back. This is the moment in your entrepreneur journey where you get to put the systems in place where you one time were the system. And that
Mm,
is such a huge accomplishment. So kudos to you, girl.
yeah,
Seriously.
thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So excited for you. So excited. And I mean, we just met, but like I have this sense of pride. Like I'm proud of you for your
Good.
journey and where you've gone and where you're going. And it's, all the women that you're able to bless along the way. So I'm super excited for you and
Thank you
appreciate
so
your
much.
time and so thankful that you're able to share your journey with others. And you truly are unapologetically badass. And I love that. Love sharing other
What is
badass.
your podcast name, just for the
Yeah.
audience to hear? Because they might just want to go switch over here in just a
Yeah.
second.
Oh, thank you. It's called Make More Money Without Selling Your Soul. And
Of
so,
course.
basically, if you're
Of
looking
course
to
it
scale with
is.
simplicity, that's where you want to be.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it,
And
Polly.
how
I
can
love it.
people get in contact with you?
So you can check me out at www.pollylavarello.com. And yeah, all the main links are there. Actually, there's a really good freebie there as well called the Everyday Sales Guide, which you can download. And that shows you how to create everyday sales systems in your business. And it's entirely free. So you can go check that out too.
I love that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much and wish you a massive continued success.
Thank you for having
Absolutely.
me.
All right, Queens, that's a wrap for today's episode. But before you hit pause, let's talk about you and how we can help you slay every part of your life. If you're ready to feel fabulous and look like $1,000,000, I've got you covered with my badass queen coaching, sparkling touchstone crystal jewelry, and Bella Grace collagen, because glowing skin and a sparkly vibe, that's a power move. Check it all out at ReneeCarbonefleming.com. And my co-host Sierra, oh yeah, she's bringing the heat too. Not only is she rocking Bella Grace collagen for her glow game, but she's also the queen of chic with her fabulous clothing boutique. From boosting your wellness to leveling up your wardrobe, Sierra's got the magic to help you shine inside and out. Check her out at Linktree/Sierra Whitener 7. So here's the deal. Head to our websites, grab the goods that'll help you live your best life, and let's make everything about you unapologetically badass. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with your fellow queens, because the more sparkle in the world, the better. Until next time, keep glowing, keep slaying, and remember, you're a badass queen who deserves it all.